It was a typical winter morning, with a cold that seeped through the cracks in the windows, and the sidewalks were wet from the rain that had fallen in the early hours of the morning. Mary, 34, left the house in a hurry, as she did every morning. He was wearing a beige coat that contrasted with his black boots, and in his hands he carried his trusty thermos full of hot coffee. The steam escaping from the lid seemed to play in the air as she settled into the car seat and started the engine. Mary's routine was meticulously planned. His day was full of tasks, endless meetings, strategic presentations, and grocery shopping, which would inevitably end at dusk. Mary's life was comfortable, but predictable. Even though I was a marketing manager at a company well positioned in the market, I sometimes felt an inexplicable emptiness. His professional achievements were significant, but they didn't seem to completely fill his days. There was an emotional gap she didn't know how to resolve, something no promotion, bonus, or praise seemed to fill. While driving down a quiet street in his neighborhood, the monotony of the morning was broken by a scene that caught his attention. On the sidewalk, near a bus stop, was a man in a wheelchair. He held an improvised sign, made of cardboard, on which was written, "I need help getting to the city center." It was a sight that aroused curiosity and concern. The handwriting, although shaky, was merry enough to convey urgency. Mary hesitated. She had a tight schedule and knew that any deviation could delay her. However, something in her heart wouldn't let her just pass by. She slowed down the car, opened the window, and after a brief moment of reflection, decided to pull over. The awareness that I could make a difference for someone in difficulty spoke louder. "Hello, do you need help?" he asked with a hesitant but genuine smile. The man, who appeared to be in his 40s with close-cropped dark hair and a stubble beard, turned his face toward her. His eyes showed relief and gratitude. "Yes, please," he replied with a tone that mixed hope and shyness. "My bus didn't come, and I have an important interview downtown. Could you give me a ride? Only if it's not a problem." Mary pondered for a second, but then smiled. "It's no problem at all. You can come in. Do you want help with the chair?" He nodded. Mary got out of the car, not caring about the cold wind that made her brown hair blow in her face. Despite never having handled a wheelchair before, he managed to fold it with some difficulty and place it in the trunk. The man moved into the back seat with surprising agility, but Mary noticed that he did so with methodical care, almost as if he didn't want to appear like a burden. As soon as they were back on the road, Mary tried to start a conversation, partly to ease the tension and partly out of curiosity. "My name is Mary. And you?" he asked, quickly looking in the rear-view mirror. "Lucas," he replied, a little shy. "Thank you very much for that. It's not every day that people stop to help." Mary smiled, trying to relax. "Well, I think it's the least we can do, right? You said you have an interview. Which vacancy is this for?" Lucas hesitated before answering. His voice, although firm, carried an undertone of vulnerability. "It's for an administrative position. I lost my job during the pandemic and, well, after the accident, it became even more complicated to return to the market." The silence that followed was charged. Mary wanted to ask more, but she didn't know if it would be invasive to bring up the subject of the accident. Still, Lucas's sincerity touched her. She decided to encourage him. "It must be a great opportunity. I'm sure you'll do well. Just the fact that you are going after it already shows that you are someone determined." Lucas let out a short laugh, but with a touch of nervousness. "I'm trying to be. There are days when it's hard to believe that things will get better, but today is one of those days where I feel like I need to try." The conversation remained light, but full of meaning. Mary realized that Lucas was a resilient person, someone who faced his challenges with courage and humor, even when life seemed unforgiving. When they arrived at the address Lucas had indicated, an imposing commercial building in the city center, Mary parked and got out to help him with the chair. "Good luck with the interview, Lucas," I said as I helped him get comfortable. "Thank you very much, Mary. You can't imagine how much this means to me." He paused as if he wanted to say something more, but ended up just waving before heading towards the building. Back in the car, Mary felt a feeling of lightness. Despite having lost a few minutes of his morning, he was happy to have helped someone. While driving to work, he reflected on how small acts of kindness could impact someone else's life, and, in a way, his own. The next morning, Mary was in the kitchen finishing her coffee when her phone rang. The number was unknown, and she almost ignored it. However, on impulse, he answered. "Hello? Mary, this is Lucas, the man you gave a ride to yesterday. Sorry to call so early." Mary was surprised but also curious. It was rare to receive unexpected calls, and Lucas's voice sounded excited. "Hi, Lucas. Of course I remember. Everything is fine?" "Yes. In fact, more than fine. I got the job, and, well, my new boss was very impressed with the fact that I managed to get to the interview despite the difficulties. When I told him about you and how you helped me, he was curious. He is looking for someone with marketing experience to lead a new project. I told him about you and he wants to set up a meeting." Mary gaped. The idea that a ride could lead to a career opportunity was hard to believe. "Wait, he wants to offer me a job?" he asked, still processing the information. "Yes, exactly. It's a big company. He wants to talk to you as soon as possible." Despite being surprised, Mary felt a mix of curiosity and excitement. It was an unexpected chance that somehow felt right. After writing down the details, she prepared for the meeting, her heart beating faster than usual. That afternoon, Mary carefully prepared for the meeting. He chose an elegant navy blazer, which contrasted with his crisp white shirt, and mentally reviewed his professional achievements. Still, I couldn't shake my nervousness. Although she was accustomed to high-level negotiations in her current position, the idea that this opportunity had arisen from a selfless gesture intrigued her. The building where the meeting was to be held was sophisticated, with a glass facade that reflected the cloudy sky. Upon entering, Mary was greeted by a friendly receptionist who escorted her to a large, well-lit meeting room. In the center of the room stood Alberto, a middle-aged man with piercing eyes and a warm smile. He stood up to greet her. "Mary, I'm glad you could come so quickly. I'm Alberto, executive director of the company. Please sit down." Mary smiled and thanked him, trying to hide the anxiety that was growing in her chest. Thank you for the invitation, Alberto." I was surprised when Lucas called me, but I was also very curious to find out more about the project. Alberto rested his elbows on the table and leaned slightly forward, showing genuine interest. "Lucas spoke very highly of you, not only as a professional, but as a person. He mentioned that you helped him at a crucial time. This impressed me because at our company, we value actions that reflect empathy and purpose, and when I saw your resume, it was clear that you have the experience we need." Mary was flattered, but also wary. Although she was open to new opportunities, she didn't want to make a hasty decision. "I am honored by your words, Alberto, but I confess that I still know little about the project. What exactly do you have in mind?" Alberto smiled as if preparing a revelation. "We are starting an initiative focused on inclusion and accessibility. The idea is to create awareness campaigns and, at the same time, develop products and services that better meet the needs of people with disabilities. It is a market that grows every day but still lacks genuine representation. We want to change that." Mary felt a wave of excitement upon hearing Alberto's words. The project seemed to be not only challenging but also meaningful. She always dreamed of working on something that directly impacted people's lives, but never got the chance. "It looks like an incredible project," he replied, his eyes shining. "And what exactly do you expect from me?" Alberto leaned forward even further, his eyes fixed on hers. "We want you to lead the marketing and communications part. We need someone who has the strategic vision to create impactful campaigns, but who also understands the importance of the human factor. With your experience and your spirit, I believe you are the right person." Mary took a deep breath, taking it all in. The proposal was tempting, but it also represented a great challenge. On the other hand, It seemed to be exactly the kind of change she was looking for in her life. "I need time to think," he said sincerely, "but I must say that I am very interested." Alberto smiled again, looking satisfied. "Of course, I understand perfectly. I only ask that you consider the impact we can make together. This is not just about business, but about transforming lives." Back in the car, Mary drove through the busy streets with her mind racing. The conversation with Alberto had awakened in her a sense of purpose that she hadn't felt in a long time. Even after a full day of work, the idea for the project continued to occupy his thoughts. That night, while eating dinner alone in her small apartment, Mary reflected on her life. Working in the marketing area had always been a dream, but over time, her professional routine had become mechanical. She wanted something more, something that would make her wake up in the morning with enthusiasm. Maybe this was the opportunity he so desired, even without knowing it. He picked up the phone and sent a message to Lucas. "Thank you for telling Alberto about me. He offered me an important role in the project. I'm seriously thinking about accepting. Good luck with your new job." Lucas quickly responded, "You deserve it, Mary. I hope you accept it. People like you are exactly what this world needs." His words struck deep. The next morning, Mary called Alberto and confirmed that she accepted the proposal. He felt a mix of anxiety and excitement, but above all, he knew he was taking a step towards something bigger. In the months that followed, Mary dove headfirst into the project. He worked side by side with Lucas, who had become a great friend, and with a diverse and passionate team. Together, they created campaigns that not only promoted the company's products and services, but also highlighted real stories of overcoming and resilience. The impact was immediate. Social media was flooded with messages from people who felt represented for the first time. One of the most memorable moments for Mary was when Lucas shared his own story on a campaign. He talked about the accident that left him paraplegic and how difficult it had been to rebuild his life. The public reaction was overwhelming, and Mary felt grateful to have contributed to something so powerful. But the project's impact was not limited to the outside world. Mary also changed. For the first time, he felt like his work had a real purpose. Mornings were no longer a burden. They were an opportunity to make a difference. The emotional gap she carried seemed finally filled. A year later, Mary was at a company event, surrounded by colleagues and partners who helped make the project a success. As he looked up at the stage where Lucas was giving an inspiring speech, he felt a rush of gratitude. "If I hadn't stopped that morning to help a stranger, perhaps none of this would have happened." After the event, Lucas approached her with a smile. "I never thought a ride would change my life so much. But looking at all this, I think it changed both of them, don't you?" Mary laughed, excited. "I think so, Lucas. Sometimes it just takes a kind gesture to transform everything." The two clinked glasses of juice, and Mary felt like she was finally exactly where she was supposed to be. So, what did you think of the message in this story? Sometimes, small acts of kindness can transform lives, ours and those we help. Have you ever experienced something similar, or do you know someone who has? Share your experience with us in the comments, and don't forget to like and follow for more inspiring stories like this.